Ba weep grano weep ninny bong and all that fun stuff. In my efforts to review the new figures before they become old news and it no longer makes sense to talk about them, I figure it's a good time to give some love to a certain well-seasoned Autobot amongst the 86 movie gang. It's Studio Series 86 Kup. Now wait just a second. Now, Studio Series 86 Kup. Now, Kup was one of the Autobots featured in the 86 movie as well as the cartoon's third season, and was depicted as a seasoned old warrior who could sometimes be a bit gruff but was still endlessly lovable and cheerful when up for it. Basically, he's the Transformers' Danny DeVito, except less sexy. But don't get me wrong, that certainly doesn't mean Kup here isn't a stunner. I'd say as far as being a faithful recreation of the character from the movie, this is about as good as it's ever gonna get. Since Kup was introduced as part of the 1986 crew, he represents a bit of a change in design philosophy going forward in G1. So rather than being all square and cornered and decorated with headlights and door wings, he instead features design elements normalized by that era of the series, like the rounded limbs and the futuristic alt mode Easter eggs. All throughout, the sculpting just looks absolutely marvelous with the extra added detail. They didn't have to go this hard, but they did, and I appreciate it. Especially love the sci-fi arcade-looking windscreen on his chest. I also quite like the sculpting on Kup's mug. Get it? Kup's mug? Ugh. I've actually heard some people complain about this figure's head sculpt, and honestly I'm not really sure why. I mean, to my eye it looks enough like the character. Plus, Kup's kind of always had a history of fugly head sculpts, so this strikes me as one of the better ones. And hey, at least it's not like on the box art where he's giving the face of sheer abject horror. Articulation is about as great as to be expected from the modern deluxe figures, and his elbows can actually bend way farther than your average figure of any size class. Additionally, because of how the ab section works for transformation, you can totally make him get fierce. No wrist rotation though, but I don't think that's much of a oh my just kidding, it's supposed to do that. But really though, remember in my Studio Series Hot Rod review where I talk about the scene where Kup gets attacked by the robot tentacle monster? Well, apparently Hasbro's determined to recreate that piece of cinema because his limbs can be detached from his body like a weaponizer. And if that wasn't enough, Kup also includes this display backdrop that features, what else? The giant robot squid. I can't believe this. Why? I mean, I love it, but why? This isn't even a huge scene in the movie. Is someone at Hasbro just obsessed with the giant robot squid? Honestly, I think there's a Hasbro employee who's interested in some stuff, if you know what I mean. I admit I do think the arms look slightly off, and I can't for the life of me figure out why. Because looking at the animation model, they are roughly the same proportions. Maybe they're just lacking a few millimeters of thickness. I don't know. Either way, they still look fine, and it's not a deal breaker at all. Continuing the precedent set by Studio Series Blur, Kup includes two accessories, one of which is a blaster, and the other is a scene-specific accessory that he only uses once. In this case, it's the Energon goodie canister that he uses to try to gain the favor of the Alicons.
This is getting expensive!
You're telling me, Hot Rod. As a whole, I'd say Kup's robot mode is probably the best official representation of the old man's physicality. Now I want you all to know that I spent 2 hours thinking of a good pun to seamlessly transition into the transformation sequence, but I couldn't think of one, so deal with it. Transforming Kup feels really satisfying and clever. It works, everything's got clearance, it doesn't try to fight you, it's just a nice good conversion. And just like the robot mode, the alt mode does an overall great job at capturing the screen model's likeness. Again, since Kup was introduced in the 86 movie, which took place in the then far-off future of 2005, Kup transforms into a futuristic, kinda spacey pickup truck. And yes, for anyone who still doesn't know, Pick-up Truck. Yes, that's actually how Kup got his name. Or so the story goes. And honestly, I don't know if it's the nostalgia talking, but I love this design. Even if the lack of tailgate makes it completely impractical, it's just endlessly endearing and somewhat satisfyingly unified in being both angular and curvy. The driver's section looks almost kind of like an animated chin. But yeah, as previously mentioned, this is a great real-world recreation of Kup's alt mode from the movie. I don't know how they could have gotten it any better. And I kind of can't help but love these smaller Autobot symbols on the side of the back. Not sure why, but it's appreciated. As for weapon storage, there are these small holes the accessories can peg into, which looks about as well as you'd expect. But come on, something like this really isn't a problem at this point. Besides, it's way better than Blur's. So I'd absolutely say that overall, Studio Series Kup is another win amongst the 2021 newcomers. I don't really have any major issues at all. It just has everything where it counts. We've definitely had some truly strong contenders over the years, but I think this is the one that's going to be seen as the definitive Generations Cup for quite some time. And I don't know if I'll ever get to address this again, but we really don't talk enough about how strange Cup's name is, especially for a Transformer. Most of the other Autobots have really cool names that explicitly reference cars, robots, or action, like Cliff Jumper, Smoke Screen, Ironhide, Cup. It's a bit weird, but you can't say that over the years we haven't grown to love it. This figure is absolutely an A cup. Get it? No? Alright then, this figure is my cup of tea. Oh, no, wait, I thought of the best one. Okay, Cups